Like I just mentioned, we're going to move into our last panel discussion, Women in Cloud, on the topic AI First Workforce, Redefining Talent and Roles. I'd like to introduce our panelists and request you to please give them a big round of applause when they come forward. Starting with Michelle Pruitt, Board Advisor and Head of Strategy and Innovation, Women in Cloud. Please give Michelle a big round of applause as she comes forward. Joining Michelle is Karen Cohn, Venture Partner and Board Director, Masters Fund USA. And moderating this chat will be Chaitra Vedulapalli, President, Women in Cloud. Please give them all a big round of applause. And with that, it's over to you, Chaitra.
Hello. Can you all hear me? Are you excited? Okay. So first is, I would like to all stand up because we've been sitting there for a long time. So stand up if you have used AI. Okay, raise your hand if you have used voice with AI. Oh, look at that. Only one hand, please. Raise your other hand if you have used voice and image. Okay, put your hands down. Only raise your hand if you have created a video about you. Only few of them. Okay, so we are going to talk about some fun stuff. Are you good with that? Okay, I'm Chaitra Vedulapalli. I'm coming from Seattle. And we have Pruitt, she's also from Seattle. And then we have Karen Cohn, she's coming from Ohio. So all from US. Are you all excited to have this conversation started? Okay, go ahead, sit down. Okay, so the topic we had was the AI first workforce, redefining talent and roles. So I want to kind of start with first is namaste to all of you. I do know Hindi, so if you want to ever have a conversation in Hindi, I can do that. Today we are really not talking about just AI, but really thinking about how we are going to show up in this particular transformation that's happening, where the world is transitioning from the age of computing to the age of intelligence. So in the past, the computers actually ran the way the business run today. Many of these systems were really built by men, and it was designed for men. Do you all agree with that? Raise your hand if you believe that. Right. So we are entering the age of intelligence where the AI can do a lot of cool things, and we believe that women should be engaged actively so we can shape the technology that works in our favor. Do you all agree with that? Raise your hand. Okay. Then you are in the right place as we have this discussion. So what we are looking at is by 2030, AI wouldn't just be a machine in the background, it'll become our colleague, our coach, and even our competitor. So it will help you write, design, decide, as well as build. So the real question is, will the women in India will be part of these big changes, or will the rules will be written for you? What do you think? You want to become part of it, right? Say it loud. Okay, say it loud. We would all like to hear that.
Be a part of it.
Be part of it. Exactly. So we know when we don't engage, the systems are not designed in our favor. So what we want to do is have our panelists, they both are in the technology world for last 30 plus years, and they have been democratizing computing and now also democratizing technology, so it makes sense. So Karen has a passion for democratizing technology and also diversifying technology, and she's part of Masters Fund and is focused on advising early stage women founders. Karen, welcome today.
Thank you, Chaitra.
Is there anything I missed today sharing about you?
Well, I'll tell a few things about me quickly. I'm Karen Cohn. Hello, everyone. As Chaitra mentioned, I'm a venture partner with Masters Fund. We focus on funding and advising women startups. As some of you may know, I used to sit on stage and say women only get 2% of the startup money. 98% go to men. And I learned today that it's under 1%. So it's dropping. So we need to change that. And we need to get involved. I come out of the corporate world, spent quite a few years with Microsoft, with IBM. I also spent quite a few years as a CEO of an advisory research company and ran research with a company called Gartner. So I've done a lot in that area, and I have to just add one thing. I am so excited to see a room full of very talented, capable women moving into professional careers associated with technology. Doesn't always have to be coding. We'll talk about that. But I will tell you that from, as a child, I used to travel to India regularly because my grandfather was the Canadian High Commissioner from 1957 to 1964. And my grandmother used to spend time in the kitchen talking to the women working in the kitchen. And I said to her, I'm 10, okay? I won't tell you which year I was 10. But I was 10. I said, Granny, what are you doing here? She said, I'm persuading these women to make sure that their daughters get educated and that the children, the daughters of India, become professionals and exceed because they're just as smart as the men. This is my grandmother. This is 1960-ish. And here you are. Granny is not with me, but look, it's happening. Bravo to you. Bravo.
Thank you, Karen. And with me, I have Michelle Pruitt. She goes by Prue, and she's the AI strategy and transformation executive who builds operating models, product strategies, and trust-centered systems that help organizations innovate responsibly. Her leadership spans Microsoft, SAP, and Plixa, where she turns complex ideas into clear, scalable playbooks. She's also an Oscar-qualified executive producer. She's a TED Talk speaker. She's also a legend who has been featured in the book Opulus, along with Karen's, which we are going to talk about it. So welcome, Prue. Is there anything I missed sharing about you?
I want to echo what Karen said. Seeing so many women in this audience and hearing amazing stories and how intelligent and how put together you are. I can tell you 20 years ago, 15 years ago, probably even 10 years ago, I was not at your level. And if I was, I didn't believe that I was. So if you are doubting yourself, know you're not alone, and look at yourself through your friend's eyes or your sister's eyes or your mom's eyes. You are here because you're amazing. And also kudos to the men who are in this room as allies, because it's really important for all of us to support the acceleration and the capabilities and the opportunities of women. So again, kudos to them, and I'm humbled to be here because you all are super intelligent and capable. So thank you for listening to what I might have to contribute in the next couple of minutes.
Thank you, Prue. And again, I want to really give a loud shout out to Shreya Krishnan for making this one happen in India, because especially in the current climate, it's not easy to pulling something together. It takes a lot of effort. So let's give her a big round of applause. Okay, getting deep into the conversation, Prue, I'll start with you. If AI is the new co-worker, coach, and competitor, which uniquely showcases the female leadership traits, which is empathy, intuition, collaboration, how does women get an edge in this evolution, especially where the code is biased? How do we need to think about it?
I love this question, so thank you for that. AI definitely has speed and it has scale. It does not have the human operating system, right? Not yet, anyway. And we can argue whether it will and when it will. What I will say is that women come to the table with a very honed systems thinking capability. And what I mean by that is the ability to see the larger whole in connected pieces and the interrelationship between those pieces. And think about what you do during the day. You have your day job and you have your second shift where you're taking care of the family, managing the WhatsApp group, you're supporting your communities, and you are constantly communication context switching. That's systems thinking. AI isn't able to do that yet. So yes, AI can scale and it can speed. It can make decisions via recognizing patterns. Women are able to make meaning, right? When you think about automation, sure, AI can do that. Women, individuals, can put that context into perspective and identify what's missing, but even more importantly, build coalitions and build trust. AI doesn't do that right now. So yes, women belong in the process of building AI, and there are definitely skills and capabilities that women bring to the table that AI is not able to do, and that we need to be vocal about in order to shape the ethical development and the ethical application of AI. So just know your ability to make meaning and that systems thinking is crucial where we are in the ecosystem of applying and building AI.
Karen, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I think that first of all, I think Prue's pretty covered it. I'll just a couple of words. We as women, and men do too, but we have special characteristics that we bring to how we work in the environment, how we understand people, how we interrelate with people, our ability to do full-time jobs while raising families, taking care of parents, doing community projects, all matters. That has to be integrated into AI. And there are various techniques to get that done. But the fact that this room is full of women who are going to develop skills in this relationship will have a global impact. It will have an impact because right now the databases are absolutely biased. So our need to unbias the data center, the data in combination with how that is used and applied, the human addition of critical thinking associated with getting the responses from AI make a difference. So we have an important job to do.
Completely. So how many of you know about Women in Cloud? Raise your hands. 1, 2. Well, first I want to give you a little bit awareness so you can be part of the community. We are focusing on democratizing $1 billion of economic access in the AI-powered economy. That means we all need to be economically empowered so we don't lose the edge when the technology is moving faster than you can. So as part of it, when you look at AI, there are 3 things that are happening. One is the innovation, which each one of you are involved in, either building, creating, maintaining it. The second area is around consumer protection, is how is our protections going to happen at a consumer level? Is there any privacy? Is your identity going to work or not work? Like, it needs to be in place. And the last one is civil rights. And those 2 areas is not discussed in tech today, which is consumer protections as well as civil rights. And that is the one each one of you need to start paying attention as the technology is going to move at the rapid pace. So based on that, Prue, what are the myths about AI and leadership we actively need to dismantle, especially the ones holding women back from engaging or upskilling, knowing that our consumer protection and privacy rights are impacted?
So first, it is not too late. Everyone here in this room is involved in AI, STEM in some way. But what about your sister? What about your cousin? What about your friend? There are a lot of women who are thinking, wow, did I miss my opportunity? No. The second, I would say, is that AI, you have to be an engineer in order to be an AI. That's also not true. So when you think about that, you're not too late, and you don't just have to be an engineer, you don't just have to know Python, that you can actually influence AI because you happen to be savvy and deeply knowledgeable about the financial industry, or let's say agriculture. You know what the daily struggles and the challenges are within those industries. all you have to do is be vocal and be curious to be able to create a swim lane for yourself and an opportunity. So I would say those are two main points. As it relates to ethics, again, it's really important for women to be part of that conversation. The way to think about this, if we are not at the table, there is a missing perspective. There's a weakness in how products are built and how models are built and how models perform. And this isn't to detract from what we have. We have amazing technology, but think about models today and the output. And the fact that so many times, if it's a financial model, that perhaps a female entrepreneur applying for a loan is miscategorized as higher risk. Or think about in the healthcare field, where a woman goes to the hospital with different symptoms, maybe a heart attack, but yet isn't diagnosed as she's having a heart attack because our symptoms are different. These models aren't trained on the differences. And so that's where it's really important for women to be part of the process of building and to look at how data is being used and applied. We could argue that perhaps maybe that medical situation isn't ethics. However, I would say when you are not including half of the population of the world, which is what women are, that's an ethics problem. So there's a lot. Yes, thank you for that. There is a lot that women can do. But first off, be curious and don't wait. Also, technology now can give you the leg up in amplifying and getting your skills up to speed. An hour upskilling is the equivalent of what would have been a month of effort a year ago or 2 years ago. So don't wait, dive in and be a part of it.
Thanks, Prue. Here is something, I don't know if you are tracking to it. It's called as pink tax. Do you know about pink tax? It's about women. Anytime you're interacting with insurance, whether you're interacting with healthcare, there's always a bias in the code which is activated through a pink tax. So when you are looking at any AI code starting tomorrow or starting tonight, ask is, how is it impacting my rates? How is it impacting my family things? Because you start asking from a consumer protection standpoint, it will change the way, because then you can go to your workspace or the workforce and have a deep conversation. Because if you don't raise your voice, the technology will be built and it's invisible and you can't stop it. So how many of you are technologists here? A lot of you. Perfect. How many of you are business folks here? Okay, so the business folks will focus a lot on how to create new revenue. Technologists have to come and drive the regulation which is required. So can you all make an effort to make that happen? Yes? Okay, perfect. Now coming to Karen. Right now we know most AI tools are built by a small group of people. How can we make sure they also understand the lives of Indian women, whether it's in farming, finance, or family care?
Well, I would say that what's critical, of course, is, as was mentioned, is to engage and to be participating so that AI learns. So there's the learning of the models, and there's also the use of the models in order to get people involved and engaged. And I'm actually going to say that that question of how it gets into the technology, into the algorithms, and into the large language models, which is critical, is something that Prue is better to explain. But I'm going to add a different dimension, if I might, about the democratization of technology and play off of what you said, Chaitra, about business and technology. We think about AI, and almost all of you raised your hand and said, we're technologists. That's great. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen women as engineers. So there's been a lot of work done to bring more women into coding, more women into development, and that is important, and it will be essential to getting these large language models and algorithms and data incorporated with what someone needs, such as an Indian farmer. However, it's not the only jobs. There are plenty of other jobs when you talk about moving forward and the essential of AI, all right? I've been in technology for 50 years. I couldn't write a line of code if you paid me $1 million or 100 million rupees. I'm sorry, all right? And they tried to train me at IBM, believe me. They really tried. Because at that time, women could only be systems engineers because the salespeople were the leaders of the group, and that could only be men. So times have changed. That's good news. The point I'm making is that when you have AI, yes, there's the technology aspects of it, but there's also associated with it operational aspects, sales aspects, marketing, revenue producing aspects, teaching people and using AI to the benefit. What are the applications and the use of AI? You don't have to be a technologist to use AI and to make it scale and skill across the world. I've been successful in the technology world, but I've always done it from business to technology. That's how I became a general manager. That's how I became a CEO. Not a CIO, a CEO. All right. So what I'm suggesting is, please, there's only a few of you who raised your hand for business, but go out and recruit. All right. For AI to be democratized and be diverse and balanced between men and women, but with us as 50% of the population of this world. We need women to come in and take opportunities and jobs. That doesn't mean you have to be a coder. There's lots of critical business jobs that are coming up. And by the way, AI is changing the whole spectrum of the jobs, as you know. Everybody's afraid they're going to lose a job. All right. AI is going to make a ton of jobs. So we've got to be out there, and there's technology, but there are also operations and business and sales jobs. So recruit your colleagues, and I'm so glad to see we've got a lot of technologists too, because we really need them.
I completely agree, completely. Okay, I'm going to actually digress a little bit, Prue. Instead of going into more of the piece, is how many of you are here are founders? Raise your hand. Okay, just few. Huh? Yes, freelancers are also counted. There is go. Fantastic. How many of you are in director and up in a company? Directors and up. Okay, very few. How many of you are senior managers and up? Okay. How many of you just started the work in the workforce? Okay, so this question is for all of you, and we'll try to come up with some ideas, and we'll keep it like 5 to 7 minutes for Q&A, so you can ask some really interesting questions to us. Is that good? Okay, so Prue, this is where we'll start. What are some ways, whether women who are like fresh graduates, self-employed, or corporate leaders can become part of the company's AI strategy or digital transformation conversation? Because it's very important we get involved. How can we do it?
Be impatient. And I say that from experience, right? Karen mentioned that she doesn't write code. I can write some, but you don't want me to. However, I am super impatient. What I see is where I've struggled and the work that I don't want to do. I've seen where my team has put in hundreds of hours in repetition and mundane tasks where, the last team I was a part of at Microsoft, we supported every deal that came through Microsoft. And what I noticed is every big deal, large deal, we would have war rooms for weeks where our team was involved in monitoring that deal. Why? We have intelligence. We can look at where that deal should be. We can start to project what that deal should look like and what are the SLAs in terms of the different milestones of going from proposal to contract to consumption. I was impatient. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't get some work done because an individual was in a war room. So we ended up applying intelligence. We saved 80,000 hours across the organization, all because I thought it was dumb that we were spending so much time. So when I say be impatient, and then pitch your idea. And don't pitch it how I'm saying, like, oh, we're being stupid, right? You guys are smarter than that. Pitch it as a solution. We're able to empower the team and elevate the team and increase our impact. In this particular situation, what happened is we went from being a bottleneck to a trusted partner. That's significant, and especially when you're talking to executives, right? So learn the language and learn what's important to them. I would also say that don't just trust that the people building AI don't make mistakes and know what they're doing. And I mean that with respect. I've been part of the build team. But I can also admit, as being part of the build team, we make a lot of assumptions. We think we know what we know. We don't always know what we don't know, but we don't always want to admit what we don't know. And we're moving so fast and we have deadlines to launch that sometimes there are compromises, painful cuts, intentional and not intentional. So just know the build team is not infallible. So your experience and what you're seeing, that could save the company a lawsuit. It could save it significant revenue. It could be the competitive differentiation. So have confidence in yourself. So be impatient and have confidence and look at where there are seams and where they're just not smooth seams.
Karen.
Sure. I think it's, I also think, as I mentioned, on the use of AI, and I think what you described is totally the use of AI for efficiencies and ways of doing things. But I want to give you just an example. One of the things I do now is think about what technology, what startups, what companies we're going to invest in, right? Focusing on women-led companies. As I assess these companies, there's a lot of due diligence. One of the things that I've always spent hours on is figuring out whether I believe the founder or not, that they are the one and only greatest, right? So there's no competition and no one else out there, okay? Is this true? Are you? And I spent hours, days on it, and then I'd recruit a bunch of students and interns to help me with that, all right? Well, the last time I did it, I went in and I asked AI, are there any competitors for this thing? And I described it. Of course, how you ask the question is super important. So I did a good job of posing the question, all right? And it came back with the list describing what they did, and it said, yes, here's the competition. I still, though, needed to add the human element. So, one, AI saved hours and hours of my time. But two, I had to apply that, what I mentioned was critical thinking, to look at the outcome of that. And this is what we need to teach our executives to do. Don't just believe it when you see it. Take it, look at it, fact check it, and make sure that, in fact, it is. This AI came back with a whole lot of good competitors, but when I looked deeper, what I realized through my thinking was the AI each did a specific part, but none did the whole. And this particular company was looking at the whole. So I added my thinking to it. But the fact that you need to combine AI with critical thinking, just one last thought, was why Women in Cloud and Chaitra have been leading an initiative to create centers of excellence in 100 universities in India. Because what you do is, besides training 1 million professionals in the technology of AI and skilling, it also means the application of AI requires the ability to have a broader point of view. I don't know if you want to comment any more on that, Chaitra, or not.
I will. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a trick for the trade. Are you ready? My grandma always used to say, follow the money. And I didn't understand until I joined the corporate and I was at Oracle when I was at part of the global office. I realized that every CEO has a scorecard. And as a technologist, I was like, how do I directly impact the scorecard? How many of you have seen the scorecard of your CEO? Not many. Anyone raise your hand? So when you go back today, go look at your CEO's scorecard and see what is the AI metric that he is focused on, and find a way to start contributing to that particular metric. It can be an agent, It can be a white paper. It can be a conversation. But do something so you start to get the elevation at the CEO level. And if you do really well, the board also will know you. And once the board recognizes you, the speed of you becoming from a technologist to a business leader to a corporate executive becomes extremely easy. So knowing to read the money, follow the money, and also follow how the technology is creating the money for your organization will allow you to grow in your career. Is that something you're going to do? Yes? Okay, so with that, I think I will conclude the panel. Do you guys have any question? Did you enjoy today's session? What did you learn? Raise your hands. Be impatient. What else? Engage with AI. What else? Follow the money. Fantastic. So do you guys have any questions for us? Okay, go ahead. I have a gift for you, actually. Prue, do you want to show what the gift is? The gold coin? Whoever is going to have the courage to come and ask us a question that we feel very excited, they are going to get that coin. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lochin. And Karen, you mentioned about critical thinking and how we can use that along with AI to make better decisions. I'd like to know a little more about that critical thinking and how I myself and all of us can develop that critical thinking in ourselves. Are there any exercises, any tips or tricks that you could share with us to develop that?
You know, critical thinking is developed by when you look or you study something. I'm sure there's some tools out there, but there are technology companies that often hire liberal arts graduates, and then they train them. And you wonder, why are they taking liberal arts graduates? It's because when you study something like literature and you're reading a book, the discussion that happens on there is, what was the purpose of this? Or a piece of art. Why did the artist try to develop this? What's behind this poem? What's behind these reasons? This is critical thinking. This is not just saying, oh, it's so pretty, or doesn't it sound beautiful? It's there was something in that artist, in that purpose, in the way something was coded, that makes you think. So analytical capabilities, the ability to get behind. So if you're still in school, I would encourage you to combine technical courses with others. If you're graduated from school, it involves things like reading, looking at books, analyzing situations, taking a response from AI or some other say, and thinking, forcing yourself to say, is this right? And why did I get this kind of a response? So critical thinking, I'm sure there are tools, but the best tools, I think, are actually to take what's around us, reading a newspaper article, looking at something, and asking why and what's behind it. If you train your brain to constantly do that, it will take you a layer above a human quality that AI can't deliver today, and make AI plus humans really where we can go where we never imagined.
Okay, there's one thing that you can also do when you're doing critical thinking is a paradigm shifting. So think about the paradigm you want to create and then find out, why does it take so much difficulty to get to the paradigm? For example, the paradigm can be, I have to work at home and I have to work in the office and no one understands me. The paradigm would be, I work at home, I work at office, and everyone understands me. What does it take for us to get there? And when you do that particular paradigm shift, critical thinking becomes very easy for you during that process. Is that good? Okay, who else? Yes? Can you give her a mic, please?
Got one. Can I ask my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Hey,
then we'll go next.
I'm a software engineer at Uber, and I have dedicated all my studies to, to engineering, to data, to distributed systems, etc. And now there is this paradigm shift, or whatever we can say, a revolutionary change where AI is coming, and as an engineer at my state, I feel a little left out that I don't have the foundational background or the education into this field. I had some ML projects in my college, but not in agentic AI as such. So what is the suggestion for people like us, have already devoted some time to core engineering, and now we want to be a part of AI revolution as well. So just want to know the best steps here.
Start first.
So first off, it's not too late. It is what I said earlier is very true. What I would say is look for situations either in your work, if you feel comfortable, where maybe you can volunteer, become a pilot champion, right? Become the ethics champion. Involve yourself in different areas where you can get exposed to the thinking and the way others are doing it. So that's one. If your workplace isn't safe where you can take those risks, and it might not be, look for how you can implement it in your own life. Think about the tools that are out there. One of the things that I do quite a bit is if I have a framework or a process, I start to plug it into a different AI tool so that I can create my own agents and automations that can help me perhaps create a GTM plan, as an example, or maybe create a keynote, or maybe look at autoresponders in different emails. And then I also start playing around with different tools. And there are also webinars. But the best thing is to play and to see where you can break the systems. So yes, there are people who build, but if you can be the person who says, wait a second, this is where our tool breaks and does a disservice to our users, you are saving the brand in different ways. You're helping to accelerate revenue as well as market growth. Because once trust is eroded with users, it's hard to get it back. So there are ways to jump into AI, but practice with yourself first if AI is not available, and then also volunteer for startups. They need bodies and they need energy and they need intelligence.
Okay, it says we are time's up. So what we'll do is have us chat with you right afterwards. The reason why we are here is we are launching Vik Saksham, which is like a landmark initiative for skilling of 1 million people in India to ensure that they can actually drive the transformation we need. As part of that, we actually have done a partnership with Grace Hopper India, with Shreya Krishnan being the leader, who said, let's go make sure we can drive all our folks be AI innovation ready. Also, the other thing is we have launching the book called as Opulus, where Shreya actually endorsed it. So I want to bring her on the stage so we can give her a copy of the book. Shreya, come on over. Again, thank you all for having us.
When was it? 10 years ago? 10 years ago, when Women in Cloud was in Bangalore, I was sitting on a panel. No, that was pre-COVID. No, I remember the organization. Pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Women.
Yeah, and I remember being there and thinking, community is such a powerful thing. And I remember speaking to you about it and saying, it's so lovely that you have these women coming together in technology, and we should do something about it. And here we are. So, thank you. Congratulations on this. We also have a screening. We've moved the screening to tomorrow because this was clashing with that timing. So tomorrow we have a screening as well of this beautiful film in the Unconference area. Look up the schedule and come join us. And the book is going to be available. Look it up. It's already become a bestseller. On #1 bestseller on day one. Yeah, on day one on Amazon. So make sure to go grab this. It's got stories, it's got magic. And congratulations to Women in Cloud. And thank you. Thank you for showing up, your presence, the delegation that's here. Really, really grateful for it. I have thank yous for you as well.
Thank you to all of you for listening. And we are outside if you want to meet with us, okay? And for the gold coin, who are we going to give it to?
I'd like to request all of you to please give them a huge round of applause. Once again, we'd like to thank Michelle, Karen, and Chaitra. for that absolutely brilliant closing for what I'm sure you'll agree was an amazing day.